Have you ever eaten breakfast and still felt tired an hour later? Like your body never truly woke up? Have you ever wondered why some people seem to grow calmer and stronger with age while others feel inflamed and constantly hungry no matter what they eat? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to walk into a story that begins in a kitchen and ends in a different relationship with your own life. On the surface, it sounds like a simple topic, breakfast. But Buddhist wisdom often hides in ordinary places. It hides in the first breath of the day, in the first sip of warm water, in the first decision you make before the world starts pulling you. Because the first decision sets momentum. And momentum is karma in motion. This is not a story about chasing perfect health or becoming obsessed with food. Obsession is just another prison. This is a story about waking up to cause and effect. If you eat like you are escaping discomfort, the body learns craving. If you eat like you are punishing yourself, the body learns stress. If you eat like you are caring for life, the body learns steadiness. The breakfast table can be a training ground for awareness, for restraint, for compassion toward your future self. The main character in this story is named Helen. She was not a fitness person. She did not talk about diets. She did not count everything. She was a practical woman in her early 60s who had learned how to endure. And endurance became her personality. She had raised children, worked long years, and survived stress by pushing through. Then one day she realized pushing through was no longer working. Every morning she would wake up and feel heavy, like her sleep did not restore her. She would shuffle into the kitchen, grab something quick, and eat while checking messages. Sometimes it was a sweet pastry. Sometimes it was sugary cereal. Sometimes it was toast with jam and coffee. She called it breakfast, but her body called it a spike and crash. She did not notice at first because she was used to functioning on low fuel. But the pattern got louder. Around mid-morning, her hands would feel shaky. She would feel irritable. Her mind would get foggy. She would crave more coffee or something sweet. She thought she was getting older. She thought it was normal. Then she visited her older cousin Farah for a weekend. Farah was in her late 60s and looked steady. Not young in a fake way. Steady in a grounded way. Her face looked calm. Her movements looked unhurried. Her energy was not loud, but it was consistent. Helen felt a quiet jealousy. She hated feeling jealous because she considered herself grateful. But the jealousy was not really jealousy. It was a question wearing a sharp edge. Why do I feel worse when I try just as hard? On the first morning at Farah's home, Helen woke up early. She expected Farah to be asleep. Instead, Farah was already in the kitchen, moving slowly, breathing quietly, making something warm. The room smelled like ginger and oats and something earthy. Helen asked what she was doing. Farah smiled and said, "I am making breakfast the way I wish someone would care for me." Helen laughed. That sounded like a line from a book. Farah nodded. It is a line from life. When you reach this age, your body starts asking you to stop treating it like a machine. Farah served Helen a simple bowl. It was warm, soft, not too sweet. There were nuts on top, a little fruit, a sprinkle of something that looked like cinnamon. She also poured warm water with lemon and a bit of ginger. Helen ate slowly because Farah sat with her and did not turn on any screens. That alone felt strange. Helen did not realize how often she ate with her mind elsewhere. After breakfast, Helen waited for the usual crash. It did not come. She felt full but not heavy. She felt awake but not jittery. She felt calm. That calm felt almost suspicious. She said, "What is this? Some secret diet?" Farah shook her head. "No secrets, just cause and effect. You have been eating breakfast wrong for years. Not because you are stupid, but because you were rushed and stressed. The body forgave you when you were younger. Now the body asks you to pay attention." Helen felt defensive. She said, "So you are saying my breakfast is ruining me?" Farah replied gently, "I am saying your breakfast is training you. Training your blood sugar. Training your nervous system. training your craving, training your mood, training your future. Training is karma. That word karma hit Helen in a different way. She did not think karma belonged in a kitchen. She thought karma belonged in big moral stories. Farah was telling her karma belongs in every bite. Farah then told Helen a story from a teacher she once listened to at a small meditation group. The teacher said, "You wake up every day holding a bowl. The bowl is your attention. Whatever you put in it becomes the taste of your day. If you fill the bowl with haste, your day tastes like haste. If you fill it with fear, your day tastes like fear. If you fill it with care, your day tastes like care." Farah said, "Breakfast is your first bowl." Helen felt quiet. She thought about how she started her mornings, grabbing sugar to feel alive, coffee to override fatigue, phone scrolling to avoid silence. It was not just food. It was a pattern. Farah asked Helen to describe her usual breakfast. Helen did. Farah listened without shaming. Then Farah said, "Let me show you 6 morning foods that can heal the body when you eat them with awareness." Heal does not mean cure every disease. Heal means support the body to move toward balance rather than chaos. Helen asked why 6. Farah said because simplicity needs structure. Too many choices create more confusion. 6 is enough to rotate and not get bored. Farah did not list them like a lecture. She walked Helen through them as if she was teaching a child how to hold a flame without burning it. The first morning food was warm water with something gentle, like lemon or ginger. Farah said, "Most people wake up dehydrated. The body has been fasting all night. Your digestion is like a sleepy worker. If you hit it with cold and sugar immediately, it wakes up angry. Warm water is kindness. Ginger is warmth. Lemon is brightness. It is not magic. It is a signal to your body that the day begins with care." Helen thought of her usual first signal, caffeine panicked. Farah gave her the warm water again. Helen felt her throat soften. She felt her chest open slightly. She could not explain it, but she felt less tense. Maybe it was placebo. Maybe it was physiology. The result was the same. Her body felt safer. The second morning food was oats or another simple whole grain cooked warm. Farah said, "A warm grain is grounding. It releases energy slowly. It steadies the mind. It keeps you from chasing sugar in an hour." People think healing is always about adding exotic things. Sometimes healing is about returning to plain stability. Helen had disliked oats when she was younger because it seemed boring. Now she realized boring might be exactly what her nervous system needed. The third morning food was nuts and seeds. Farah sprinkled chia and crushed walnuts on top. She said, "These are small, but they carry strength. They add healthy fats and texture. They teach you to chew. Chewing slows the mind. When you chew, you cannot rush as easily. Rushing is one of the hidden causes of suffering." Helen laughed. "How can chewing be spiritual?" Farah replied, "Because you can only be where your body is when you actually feel what you are doing. Most people live in the head. The mouth becomes a machine. The stomach becomes a trash bin. Awareness turns eating into practice." The fourth morning food was fruit, but not as a sugar bomb. Farah used berries and a small piece of banana. She said, "Fruit can be medicine when it is part of balance, not an excuse for dessert in the morning." If your breakfast is only fruit juice or sweet fruit on empty stomach, some bodies crash. But fruit with fiber and fat can be gentle. It is about condition. Always condition. That phrase, always condition, sounded like Buddhism in kitchen language. Nothing exists alone. The result depends on what it meets. The fifth morning food was eggs, or another simple protein, depending on your body and values. Farah made a small egg dish the next day with vegetables. She said, "Protein can help stabilize hunger. It keeps you from snacking all morning. It supports muscle as you age. But again, do not turn it into obsession. Eat enough, not too much." Middle path. Helen noticed Farah kept using that phrase. Middle path, not extreme. Not rigid, not careless, balanced. The sixth morning food was something bitter or green. Even a small amount. Farah added greens to the eggs. And another day she served a small side of sautéed greens. She said, "People avoid bitterness because they want constant sweetness. But bitterness is a teacher. It wakes digestion. It reduces craving for sugar. It reminds the tongue that life is not only sweet. When you train the tongue to accept bitterness, you also train the mind to accept discomfort. That is spiritual strength." Helen chewed the greens and made a face. Farah laughed kindly. "Exactly. The face is the mind complaining. Let it complain. You still chew." Helen realized this was not only a food lesson. It was a mind lesson. Farah also told Helen what to remove from breakfast behavior. Because eating wrong is often about what you do around breakfast, not only what you eat. Helen ate with her phone. Farah asked her to try 5 minutes of no phone. Just the bowl. Just chewing. Just breathing. Helen felt restless at first. Her mind wanted stimulation. Her fingers wanted to scroll. Farah said, "Notice the craving. The craving is not hunger. It is agitation. If you feed agitation with content every morning, your mind becomes hungry all day." Helen tried. The first morning felt awkward. The second morning felt a little easier. By the third morning, she noticed her mind was quieter. Not silent, quieter. That quiet felt like medicine. On Sunday afternoon, Helen returned home. She told herself she would keep the new breakfast habit. Then Monday arrived and the old momentum returned fast. She woke up late. She grabbed coffee. She reached for toast and jam. She told herself she would do better tomorrow. That night she felt heavy again. She felt disappointed. But Farah had warned her about this. Farah had said, "Do not turn wisdom into another reason to hate yourself. That is not Buddhism. That is just ego wearing a new mask. If you fall, return. Returning is the practice." So Helen returned the next morning. She woke earlier. She warmed water. She cooked oats. She added nuts. She ate slowly for a few minutes without screams. She felt calmer. She felt proud. Then she caught herself. She realized pride can also become clinging. So she softened. She told herself, "Not proud, just present." Over the next month, Helen noticed changes. Her mid-morning crash reduced. Her cravings softened. Her mood steadied. Her digestion improved. Her skin looked a little clearer. She slept slightly better. These were not miracles. They were the natural result of repeating a calmer pattern. That is what the Buddha taught in so many ways. You do not become free by wishing. You become free by changing causes. Helen also noticed something deeper. Breakfast had become a mirror for her whole life. When she rushed breakfast, she rushed conversation. When she ate while distracted, she listened while distracted. When she reached for sugar to avoid discomfort, she also reached for distractions to avoid sadness. When she ate with calm, she responded to life with more calm. She began seeing how one small practice in the morning could ripple into everything. One day her daughter visited and noticed the new breakfast. She joked, "Who are you and what did you do with my mother?" Helen laughed and said, "I stopped treating myself like someone I do not like." That line surprised her as she said it. She realized her old breakfast was a form of neglect, not intentional, but real. Her daughter asked why she changed. Helen said, "I realized I was dying in small ways every day, not in dramatic ways. In tiredness, in irritability, in craving. I decided to stop." Her daughter looked at her quietly and said, "I want to learn to." So Helen taught her daughter the same 6 morning foods and the same quiet practice of eating without screens for a few minutes. And Helen realized something else about karma. The habits you change in yourself can protect the people you love, not by preaching, by modeling. Now let me connect this story to Buddhist wisdom more directly. Buddhism often speaks of suffering arising from craving and ignorance. Breakfast is where craving shows itself clearly. If you crave constant sweetness, you train the mind to demand pleasure. When life is not sweet, the mind suffers more. If you crave stimulation, you train the mind to fear silence. When silence arises, the mind panics. If you crave control and perfection, you turn food into a battlefield and shame into a daily condiment. Wisdom is not to eliminate pleasure. Wisdom is to stop being ruled by craving. The middle path is to nourish the body while keeping the mind free. Detachment in this context does not mean you do not care about health. It means you release obsession. You choose food that supports you. Then you let go of self-punishment. You eat with gratitude. Then you stop chasing a perfect identity. You keep returning to balance. Compassion matters too. Many people eat wrong because they are stressed, lonely, or exhausted. They do not need a harsh judge. They need a kind guide. If you speak to yourself with cruelty, the nervous system stays tense. A tense nervous system seeks quick comfort. Then the cycle continues. Compassion breaks the cycle by making steady choices possible. So if you feel like you eat breakfast wrong, do not turn it into shame. Turn it into awareness. Here is a way to see it clearly. If your breakfast makes you crash and crave, it is training instability. If your breakfast makes you steady and clear, it is training stability. Training is karma, and you can change training. If you want the 6 morning foods in simple terms from this story, hold the spirit more than the exact items. Begin with warmth. Choose a slow release base. Add small strength from seeds or nuts. Add gentle fruit in balance. Add protein if it suits you. Add a little bitter or green to teach the tongue and mind. Then eat with presence, even briefly. When you do this consistently, you are not only healing your body, you are healing a relationship. The relationship between your mind and your life. I want to share a small reflection that might match your experience. Many people think breakfast is optional and coffee is enough. Then they wonder why their mood is sharpened, their focus is thin. They think it is personality. Often it is blood sugar chaos and nervous system overdrive. When they begin a calmer breakfast, their personality seems to improve. They say, I am less angry. They say, I feel less anxious. They think they became a better person. They did, because their mind had more support. I have also seen people who overcorrect. They become strict. They become fearful of every bite. That is not healing. That is another form of suffering. The Buddha would not tell you to replace one prison with another. The path is steadiness, not obsession. So make this gentle. If you change breakfast, do it like you are caring for a friend. And if you slip, return. Returning is the practice. Before we close, I want to leave you with a simple morning image you can carry. Imagine your day is a long walk. Breakfast is the first step. If you step in panic, the walk feels panicked. If you step in care, the walk feels steadier. You cannot control every part of the walk, but you can choose the first step. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you have ever noticed your breakfast changing your mood, your anxiety, or your energy, share what you learned in the comments. And if you feel stuck in a morning crash cycle, tell us what your mornings look like. Someone else may read your words and realize they are not weak. They are simply repeating a pattern that can be changed. Closing words: may your mornings become kinder. May your breakfast become a practice of wisdom. May your cravings soften into clarity. And may the simple act of eating with awareness become a quiet path of freedom. Subscribe, like, and stay with the channel, because the next story might be the one that helps you turn another ordinary habit into a doorway to awakening.